If you suffer from absolutely debilitating headaches, you already know how maddening it is trying to explain an illness that nobody can see. So today, we're going to break down the surprisingly specific, kinda complicated rules for actually getting a Social Security disability claim for headaches approved. Let's dive right in. So how do you prove an invisible illness is disabling? I mean, this is the whole problem, isn't it? Your pain is completely real, it's undeniable to you, but you can't point to it on an x-ray or a scan. It is just so frustrating. But here's the good news. The Social Security Administration actually has a very specific playbook for these cases. And today, we're going to figure out how to use that playbook to your advantage. Okay, the best way to wrap your head around this whole thing is to think of it like a series of trials you have to pass. And, to win any game, you have to know the rules. Luckily for us, the Social Security Administration, we'll just call them the SSA, they literally publish the exact rule book they use for headache claims. And this is it. It's called Social Security Ruling 19-4P. Think of this as the secret instruction manual for the very people who are deciding your case. So if we can understand what's in this thing, we can figure out exactly what kind of evidence they're looking for, what they absolutely need to see to approve a claim. All right, let's tackle that first trial. Before the SSA even begins to think about how severe your headaches are, you have to prove they're what's called a medically determinable impairment, or MDI. Basically, you have to make your invisible illness, visible on paper. You've got to show them it's real with solid, concrete evidence. So to pass this first test, there are 3 specific boxes you have to check. First, you need a diagnosis from what they call an acceptable medical source. Think a medical doctor, an MD. Second, and listen up, because this is the one that trips a lot of people up, you need an observation of a typical headache event. And third, your medical records have to clearly show that other possible causes for the headaches have been looked into and ruled out. Okay, let's talk about this observation thing, because it's super important. It does not mean you have to somehow magically get a migraine right there in your doctor's office. No way. A detailed description from your spouse, your boss, anyone who's seen you go through it, that counts as valid evidence. But here's the key. Your doctor has to write it down in your medical records. This is a really powerful tool for documenting your condition, so don't overlook it. Okay, so let's say you've passed that first trial. You've proven your condition is real. Awesome. Now comes trial number 2, proving it's actually severe enough to be disabling. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because headaches don't actually have their own dedicated listing in the SSA's Big Book of Rules. So what does the SSA do then? Well, they use something called an analogous listing. It's like they find the closest thing they do have a rule for. And for severe headaches, believe it or not, they use the rules for epilepsy, specifically listing 11.02. They basically treat a debilitating headache attack almost like it's a type of seizure, because they're focused on how it completely disrupts your ability to function. Now, there are 2 main ways you can meet this epilepsy standard. Let's look at the first one, 11.02b. This one is all about frequency. You're having headaches at least once a week for 3 months in a row. Simple as that. The second path, 11.02d, is a little different. The frequency is lower, at least once every 2 weeks for 3 months. But, and it's a big but, you also have to show a marked limitation in your physical or mental functioning. That's just their fancy way of saying a serious problem with things like concentrating, staying on task, or just keeping up with others. Okay, you've proven your condition is real. You've proven it's severe. Now for the final trial. And honestly, this is the one where everything comes together. You have to prove that your headaches actually prevent you from working. This is all about the real-world, day-to-day impact. And to prove that impact, you now have a really powerful new tool in your arsenal. See, for decades, the whole system was built on ridiculously outdated job data. But there's a new rule, SSR 24-3P, that is finally forcing the process to catch up with the 21st century. It makes these vocational experts, the people who testify about what jobs you can do, actually consider the demands of a modern workplace, not some job that hasn't really existed for 40 years. So the key here, the absolute crucial point, is to connect your symptoms to these specific work-related limitations. You have to speak their language. When your photophobia and phonophobia mean you need a dark, quiet room, that's off-task time an employer won't put up with. If your attacks make you miss work more than once a month, which is pretty common, that's absenteeism. Your need to avoid triggers like bright lights or strong smells, those are environmental limitations. These are the exact terms that win cases. And this really gets to the heart of the problem with the old system. These vocational experts were often using a job list from 1977. They were pointing to what are basically ghost jobs. This new rule, SSR 243P, finally gives you the power to challenge that. Think about it. A receptionist back in 1977, maybe they just answered a phone. Today, that same job means juggling complex software, dealing with people, and constant multitasking, all things that are just impossible during a migraine flare-up. And the good news is, the system is finally starting to catch up with reality. There's another new rule, EM-24027, that is officially flagging some of these old ghost jobs, like document preparer, as obsolete. So what does that mean for you? It means if a vocational expert brings up one of these jobs in your hearing, your lawyer or representative has an official, on-the-books reason to say, no, that job doesn't exist anymore. I mean, this is a total game changer. Okay, so we've walked through the 3 big trials. 1, making your condition real. 2, proving its severity. And 3, showing its devastating impact on your ability to work. But there is one single piece of evidence that ties all of this together. It is the ultimate tool for telling your complete story. Yeah, the experts literally call this stuff evidentiary gold. Why? Because it's the detailed, consistent, day in, day out record that a quick 15-minute doctor's visit could never capture. And here's the best part. It is the one piece of evidence that you, and only you, have complete and total control over. What is it? It's your headache journal. And you have to be detailed. We're not just talking about jotting down when you have a headache. No, it's the full story. How long did it last? What were the other symptoms? The sensitivity to light, the nausea? How did it completely derail your day? What triggers did you notice? What treatments did you try? And did they even work? This is what creates that longitudinal record, that long-term story, that the SSA absolutely has to see to understand the true scope of your disability. So I really want to leave you with this one thought. Your medical records? They tell part of the story. The legal rules we've talked about? They create the framework. But are you telling your full story? Because when it all comes down to it, winning this kind of claim depends on it. The story you document for yourself, day in and day out, that can make all the difference in the world.